Welcome to the next edition of Chocobo Chasers. I am G. I am joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. What's up, dudes?
Hello.
One day, as soon as you start the recording, I'm just gonna yell "fuck" really loud or
God
something
damn it!
stupid.
Like this. Fuck! Oh,
We just start
well,
out. We're caught off guard, like we don't know
Be,
that
li-
this is about to start recording.
yeah,
Oh,
be
hey,
like
didn't see
the
you there.
Tourette's man. Just
yeah.
Bob
Bob
Saget.
Saget.
It feels weird not having a guest because
It's
that's
weird. Yeah, this is our first episode in probably 2 straight months that we're not going to have a guest. That being said, we are going to have one next week that we are insanely excited about.
oh yeah.
But it's it is a little odd. Not that it's a bad thing. I mean, we do love like interviewing everybody who we do because it's so fun and it's so cool to get to kind of experience everybody's different story. And it's funny, like you see similarities between all of these people, whether it be like this initial love of theater that kind of leads into these things, and then everybody's path when they get to these roles is just so different. You know, it's we have like Doug, who's like a teacher, and he, is kind of breeding the next, generation of actors. And then we have people like Earl T. Kim or Rhiannon who are much more fresh into this, and it's just so cool to see. Honestly, I wouldn't trade these experiences for anything. It's amazing. We are insanely excited to be talking about some stuff that we are talking about here tonight. We're going to go over and talk about some of the exciting releases because, oh boy, there's some good ones coming up in September. Definitely going to talk about what we're playing. There's been some cool announcements and very unexpected regarding some new remasters that are coming. There's also been some new game reviews that have been incoming, which, some not so surprising. The others, wow. And I think we'll close out the show tonight talking about Starfield and going pretty in depth in that as we do get very, very close. So, as always, I think it's best to go ahead and start our show off. What are you guys playing? I'll actually start us off tonight because I have finally made the leap. I am in Baldur's Gate 3 right now. Rumors of this game's greatness were not exaggerated in any way, shape, or form. I was telling the guys that last night while I was playing, I almost had kind of a bit of an anxiety attack because there's just so much. There's so much options. There's so much detail. Like, if you want to just come up with the craziest way that you can to solve whatever mission or whatever objective you're trying to do, there is typically a way to do it. That's just totally outside the box. And I am having a blast so far. I'm about 10, 15 hours in, somewhere in there, still in Act 1. I imagine I'll probably be there for a little while still. And I mean, really that, and playing maybe a tiny bit of Spider-Man and COD as we continue to get a little bit closer to Spider-Man 2. I'm going to play that and Miles Morales, but Baldur's Gate has been unequivocally just taking the majority of my time in for good reason. I'll be very curious to see where my game of the year stance lies after finishing playing this. And we've still got 3 months left in the year too. So there are some games that could dethrone it for you guys. It'll be interesting to see what's happening. So Dash, I'll pass it on to you. What are you playing this week?
Same as you. So about Baldur's Gate 3. Finally completed Act 2, so that I spent most of the weekend on that one. But it actually went quicker than I thought it would too, but maybe I accelerated it partly because I went through a certain dungeon that ended up being like, oh yeah, this advances the story. Now you gotta go to the final area of this act to complete it. And like they closed off certain side quests. So I think when I got to the final area, it's like, oh yeah, these NPCs I was supposed to search for or rescue are dead now. So unfortunately, there's probably some quest lines I screwed up by doing certain things in an order, and I kind of wish that they said, like, explicitly say, "Hey, this is going to advance the storyline." I think they did actually. Now I'm thinking about it. There, I think
Just rushing through. I don't
before the
care.
last part of that dungeon to go down, it's just like, are you sure you want to proceed? I'm like thinking, I'm like, this isn't the main area. This is just some side dungeon. Why would this matter? So I thought it was just fine to go down there. But anyways, on to Act 3, finally get into like actual Baldur's Gate now. And you get a bit of a city to explore, so it's a bit different there, but I'm really excited to see because Act 1 was more about, I guess, you know, doing the setting, right? It's establishing your party, your characters. You don't really have like the central villain at that point. They kind of sprinkled in that, oh yeah, but you guys are just trying to figure out what's the next steps. Where are we going? Act 2 is finally where you get like, okay, here's an actual boss, and it's a pretty good fight right there too. And I'm excited to see how the other boss fights are going to be for Act 3 because I'm assuming there's going to be quite a few boss fights in this with how many people are left still. But I'm excited for that. Besides Baldur's Gate 3, uh, I spent a little time on some of my time killer games, like just something to turn my brain off, and maybe I'm watching TV or a football game or something on the side. So I want a game I can divide my attention to. So I'm kind of doing that with Faster Than Light still. So trying to get some successful runs because even though I've probably have like 70 plus hours in this game, I still haven't unlocked every fucking ship because it's that hard of a game. So it's a work in progress. And then Sunday, just because I just wanted to kill time and it's been a while, I generated a random map for Heroes of Heroes of Might Magic 5 and just did a bot match, which bots are fucking annoying in that game because the second you leave your home base alone, they'll make a beeline straight for it. They're assholes. But anyways, that's what I've been doing.
Eric, what about you? What have you been playing?
I have felt the need for some competitive stuff. So I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty the past week and a half, and well, week really, and then I've been playing a lot of Valorant the past 2 weeks, man. It's not good to say the least.
Never played it.
But man, it's very satisfying. Like that's one of those games where like the skill level between some of the people who play it a lot more than I do and who are way better than me is astronomical. So when I finally am able to get some kills, I actually got match MVP on one the other day, and I was so hyped. I almost had my first ace. It got stolen. Unfortunate, but it happens. So that's the itch I've been scratching, and that's been mostly just getting some multiplayer in with the boys because once Starfield is out, y'all might even be down to 2 hosts on this because y'all might not ever talk to me again.
It's coming. Like
Eric's gonna be
a teenage boy. It's
the
coming.
podcast recording, just playing Starfield and just kind of
Yeah,
try.
just
He's gonna be
multitasking.
he's gonna be pretending to be
What?
paying
What was the
attention.
question? Huh? What? Huh? Excuse me? What? Yeah. And so that very short and sweet for me, but that's pretty much been it.
I mean, it's been one of those weeks. We are prepping, and Eric mentioned it. Starfield's coming. September is going to be a big month. August was a pretty big month too. We kind of laid it out. Sorry. I don't know what was 3 to 4 episodes ago. Like we're hitting the big times right now. So we've got Baldur's Gate, which has dropped to universal acclaim, both critically and commercially, and it's about to launch on console. September is full of some pretty insane releases.
I'd say it's even bigger.
Yeah. It maybe not the highest highs that August had, but just in terms of content, there's a lot. So we've got, just to lay out a few, we've got Starfield, which is obviously the big one. Xbox's like big, huge next game. Bethesda's first new IP in over 20 years. A game that I'm really hoping is going to scratch that sci-fi itch that we've kind of desperately needed for a long time. And for all intents and purposes, things are looking good. There is some controversy. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But Starfield obviously is the star of the show here. With Starfield, we've got Cyberpunk's expansion, Phantom Liberty, which is going to put the game in the state that it was intended to be in prior to launch. And I think this is so important, one, for CD Projekt Red to get right out of the gate, because obviously the state that Cyberpunk launched in was, it was just bad.
The
And
game's out of early access now.
yeah, basically.
Yeah, 3 years.
And 40, well, and that just shows like how much longer it should have been in development before actually releasing. And so Cyberpunk is releasing. It's going to just totally change the entire gameplay. It's going to give you so much more options that weren't there before. I'm very, very excited. And what's very, very cool, we talked about it, I think, last episode or the episode before, is that even if you don't buy Phantom Liberty, you're still going to get this update that's going to make the game what it was intended to be. So that is very, very exciting. Baldur's Gate is officially launching for console this month. After it's PS5 players obviously are not going to be playing Starfield, so it makes a lot of sense. And it's been one of the like highest pre-ordered games on PS5. So it's very, very exciting to see. Something that we don't talk about a lot is mobile games, and I wouldn't typically bring it up, but Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is coming out this month, which is very, very interesting. For those who don't know, Ever Crisis is basically a retelling of the entire saga of Final Fantasy VII, and it's kind of an upscaled version of the original game.
Isn't it just like a gotcha game too? So you
does have some gotcha elements, which does suck. But they are going to go ahead and include the additional content as far as Final Fantasy VII goes. Right now they're doing the main story. It's coming out in, I think, weekly chapters. Yeah. And it's also going to include, after the main game is done, it's going to include Crisis Core, it's going to include Dirge of Cerberus. So like kind of all of these external games which connect to this Final Fantasy VII universe. Very interesting, but something to kind of watch out for. NBA 2K24. We don't talk a ton about sports games, but I think we may have an episode coming up where we kind of dive into maybe some of the issues that we identify with that. 2K is kind of looked at as the sports franchise that does get a lot of things right. I know it's definitely one of the best looking games out there. I see player animations, things like that always look pretty pristine. Liza P, which I didn't know until this week, is going to be coming to Gamepass, which is totally cool. And for those who are unaware, Liza P is a kind of Lovecraftian telling of Pinocchio in Soulsborne style combat, which the visuals of it are very, very interesting. Also coming out this month, we have Mortal Kombat 1 and also Payday 3. So this month is stacked as fuck. But I wanted to get your guys' take. Like, what, obviously, Starfield, we're excited as hell for it. So I guess one, why are you excited? And two, what else is catching your eye right now?
I mean, Starfield, obviously, it's going to be one of the biggest games. It's going to be the game that pretty much everybody is going to be playing or at least talking about. So FOMO right there. You don't want to be the only one missing out on this experience. We got you with Baldur's Gate 3. You couldn't wait.
I know.
You're like, I'm going to play Starfield first, but it's going to be the same with Starfield. Everybody's going to be talking about their experiences with Starfield. It's everything I see from it is it's standard Bethesda game. So if you like any of the previous Bethesda games, you're going to love this one, obviously, even if it's a new property. If you've hated Bethesda games, it might not be for you, but who knows, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I have high hopes. The clunkiness of typical Bethesda games and just like it just feels a little robotronic. And I think there's a lot more flexibility for Starfield, and I think that's hopefully what's gonna, open itself up to be a little bit. So, Eric, what about you?
I could talk about Starfield. I'm not going to though. I'm incredibly excited for Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. One, I'm a huge Idris Elba fan, and I think they did a tremendous job putting in Keanu Reeves in the base game and making him a whole part of it. And I'm excited to see what he can do with this. And you get vehicle combat. like you said, the whole game is reworked. There's going to be stuff that wasn't in the main quest that should have been on release. Maybe there's other stuff that we don't know about yet that's going to hit. So that's going to be my reprieve after I've no life Starfield for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. I'm going to be able to be like, all right, I can take a break from this because I'm going to start the whole new playthrough once it comes out.
Yeah, I think I'm
I
gonna
never
actually
even
do
got
the same thing.
Yeah, I never got to play Cyberpunk that much. I bought it on my PlayStation, probably played it for a couple hours, and then never touched it again. So this will be a great time for me to revisit it and get a full playthrough in after that point.
Is I will say from a storytelling perspective, CD Projekt Red really can't. They not that they can't do wrong, but they haven't. They did an amazing job creating likable, hateable characters and some of the most interesting and I'm trying to think of the right word here. Morbid, I guess, is kind of what there's a specific quest line in Cyberpunk that is not going to be for everybody and would be very offensive, I think, to some people. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was very, very interesting. We can talk about that a little bit later, but there is so much to like about the game. It's still one of the best looking games. Night City, it just looks insane, especially if you've got a PC that can run it, close to full specs. Like that's just insane
I did buy it on my PC now too, and with the expansion, it was $60 altogether. So I thought that was a great deal.
And I would say it is, especially because the expansion itself is $30. So I mean, you're gonna get an easy 40 hours just out of the main game by itself. So I mean, not that time equates to fun, but
no,
it's just one of those things.
Yeah, we don't need more long games, but I mean,
no,
it's good to have games with content at least.
Yeah, I've found, it's funny that you say that. I found that my sweet spot for games is like 25, 30 hours. Like if it's a good story, obviously I'm going to exceed that with Baldur's Gate and probably potentially Starfield as well. But for just like your standard kind of run-of-the-mill RPG, I mean, just depends on what genre and what the story and narrative and everything is like. But 20 hours, give me a Days Gone. That's totally fine with me. Like that, I'll sing the praises of that game.
Such a good game, man.
It's fun. Game. Yeah, especially coming into it like a year later after, I guess, because it had all the technical issues it had, at the very beginning, but didn't have to experience any of that. I will say the loading time for that game is insane if you're not using it on an SSD. And I guess a lot of games were like that. I just don't necessarily remember them any longer. But no, I think that there's going to be some exciting stuff. And we haven't even talked about like Mortal Kombat, which is going to be huge.
Probably got to get that pre-ordered here soon.
Yeah, our wallets are just weeping tears of
thank you Gamepass for saving me the money from not having to buy Starfield.
Payday 3 is coming to Game Pass as well. I'm super excited about Payday 3 as well. I can't wait to rob some banks with the boys, man.
Lies of P, Payday 3, and Starfield all coming to Game Pass day one. So
it's definitely a good thing to have. It's a great service because if I had to buy each of these games individually, I wouldn't be able to. I'd have to pick and choose, right? So if and there's so many great games, it's really hard sometimes. Especially like I haven't picked up Armored Core yet because I just didn't want to spend the money yet.
Yeah, it's same. I'm gonna wait for Armored Core to go on sale, which usually maybe not this year, but by Christmas it might be on sale. You probably won't see a Black Friday deal.
So I still haven't even played Dead Space, and that's like a game that
I still have to get the remake.
Yeah, I've been waiting to play it because I have been eyeing sales. Like for those who are unaware, if you are still buying like physical editions of games, there are some awesome resources that you can get some amazing deals. One specific one that I've utilized a few times is Gamefly. Which, if you're unaware, Gamefly is basically like how Netflix used to be, where you could rent discs, but they do it for video games. So you rent the disc and then you return it. It's a very, very simple service, but they also allow you to buy the games. and they typically do so for quite a premium like downgrade. I have purchased a few different games. They have all come in really good quality. And typically, because they don't send the actual case to people when they rent the game, if there's any codes or anything like that in the game, it's unused. And so service is great. They also have a free shipping section too, where you can find some like really good deals. Definitely one to utilize if you're looking for physical deals. It's always a great job. And then I mean, there's a few different Twitter accounts, Wario64, Cheap Ass Gamer, just a few like that are always going to be shouting out because they'll have Best Buy, Amazon, all that kind of stuff. And no, I've been watching for Dead Space, and it has not gone on sale more than like $10 since it came out, and it's pissing me off because I want to play this stupid fucking game. And yeah, so that'll be like my number one Black Friday pickup. And once Black Friday ads start coming out, we'll definitely kind of have a little preview for everybody on, some good deals that are coming. Maybe they always do deals on controllers, things like that. So definitely something to watch out for. But no, September is going to be an amazing month for releases. If you're not a Game Pass subscriber, honestly, now is probably the best time to try it out. They will also let you do I think it's a free, they previously were letting you do like a month for $1, but I actually think they're stopping that because Starfield's coming out if it's your first time, and you get like a week or two for free. So theoretically, you could probably beat Starfield in that amount of time if you wanted to play it for free or play it for $1 or whatever. But this is our Game Pass shill for the episode.
Pretty big one at that.
I'd say it's an exciting time to be a gamer. September is probably the most stacked month of the year, I think, that we've had so far. October is also going to be stacked as fuck. So we'll see what happens. And I'm hoping all of these games are good. Honestly, I think that we've released kind of at a time where all of the games that have been delayed by COVID are coming out now. And so we're actually getting to see a lot of this stuff, for what it actually is. So that's really exciting. So moving us on to the next part of the show, we received two very out of the blue remaster notifications this week. One, Turok 3. Turok 2 is probably my favorite game of that entire series just because I've played it the most with my friends. But the Turok series is very awesome. The original game, guns and dinosaurs and aliens, and it's much more alien based when you're talking about Turok 3 than the original, but it is still a great time. And so these, again, going back to our previous episode, a remaster versus a remake. These are remasters. They're not full-blown remakes. It's going to be upscaled graphics. They're going to have very increased frame rates. And it's mostly nostalgia. Like if you want to play these games and you like them, then that's what you get them for. You're going to be able to experience them kind of as just an upscaled version of what they were. So Turok 3 is one of those games, but also Star Wars Dark Forces, one of the probably most underrated Star Wars games. And so I wanted to give you guys kind of a second to talk about those two. Eric, I know you're a big fan of Star Wars Dark Forces and Kyle Katarn especially.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I mean, you have a whole series of games that he's involved with. You have Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. You have Dark Forces. I mean, those are three of the best Star Wars games.
They really are.
And he's a focal point in all of those. And so getting to have him, I mean, I guess brought to this newer, Dark Forces came out in 96. A lot of people who weren't around to play it.
Damn.
Yep.
I was young. I didn't play it till I was about 10 or 11, 12. It was my brother's old disc when I got a lot of his old PC games. And so you have a group of new people who will be able to play this game. And it'll bring a character like him, and maybe it'll get some brain compartments turning over at Disney and like, hey, let's put out some Kyle Katarn content. Give me a Kyle Katarn series. Give me
Is-
Give me a Jedi Outcast series.
I still believe that's Kyle in the Star Wars Outlaws trailer.
Yeah.
Do you want them to ruin your favorite character, Eric? That's the key here, because Disney is such.
It depends on who in Disney, though. If it was like,
have y'all watched Ahsoka yet?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a credited role to Sam Witwer in Ahsoka.
He's like credited in everything Star Wars related, though. And some people are setting those expectations that Inquisitor is going to be like Star Killer or something like that. I'm like, people do this every time when there's like a mystery character. They're like, oh, it's so and so, it's so and so. They get their expectations so high, and then it just like it ends up.
Hi, I'm People. Nice to meet you.
Well, is Star Killer even canon? Like,
no, he hasn't been canon since probably the Disney takeover. I'm not sure if he was even canon back then, but
it was such a cool idea that
Mm-hmm.
having like Darth Vader have an apprentice post. I guess he didn't. I mean, he kind of had like a few apprentices, but just Star Killer was
so
a very
awesome.
nuanced character.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a lot to go off of there in terms of how you determine the story was going to go, which is what made those games so unique. And there's a lot of visual stuff that like I always think of when it comes to those games, like pulling down the Star Cruiser, like that. I just imagine that and like current gen graphics, and it would be like the absolute coolest thing. If there's a game that could use a remake, let's do Force Unleashed 1 and 2.
We need more Star Wars power fantasy games like that, because like, I mean, you got like Jedi Fallen Order and
Survivor.
But I feel like those don't give you those same like power fantasy things that you got with Force Unleashed.
Well, say it's a Padawan who doesn't have a master and is, kind of learning almost as just, like almost like he's in exile, basically, like how Obi-Wan was leading up to, A New Hope, and it just, he's having to learn everything by himself. So there's I guess there is growth. It's just so small. And so the whole basis of it is going to be so different than something like this, where Star Killer is literally learning from the most powerful Jedi who's ever lived. So it's very, very interesting, but very exciting nonetheless. I mean, honestly, the fact that we are getting Dark Forces, I hope it does well, because I'd love to see them do Dark Forces 2 as well.
Yep.
It's so hard to gauge what success looks like for games like this. And obviously they probably have an internal number, whether that be like, 2-3 million units or however much that's going to be. But I'm excited nonetheless. I think it's great to have a good mix of remakes versus remastered, because you don't
not port.
Yeah. Not we're not getting Red Dead Redemption, and I'm ready for this to be priced at like $20 or something.
Yeah, it'll be reasonably priced. Like, look at the Quake 2 remake that they remaster that they did recently, and they added a whole new chapter to the game.
Just shadow dropped it. I'm like, oh, by the way, Quake is available. You can go play it now.
Like, they're bringing all these old school classic shooters back, and they're remastering them. Yeah. I heard that there's the same people that did the Quake remasters want to do Unreal, but they have to get permission from Epic, and Epic isn't really, I guess, negotiating. So
I wonder if it's because Epic does. I mean, because that's a huge IP. Like, I would not be surprised if they do have something planned, but it's just like you can only plan for so long. And if you have somebody who wants to act on it now, theoretically, you could have them go ahead and do this remaster, do something to that effect. And then in 5 to 6 years, when a lot of that hype has died down, you announce, hey, we're actually remaking this game. Because I will tell you now, that is exactly what's going to happen with Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil 1, the original one came out in 1996, 2007, I think, maybe a year or two before or after. And Resident Evil HD, which was the GameCube version of the game, came out in the 2000s. And it was better in literally every single way from the predecessor, especially from a visual standpoint. They made a PS4 port of it. But it was so much better. And if you think for 1 second that Capcom is not thinking about a way that they can remake the first Resident Evil game in the vein of Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 remake, it's in the pipeline. It has to be happening. And so companies have no problem doing both a remake and a remaster, especially if it's going to make them money.
Resident Evil 1's going to get another remake before Code Veronica ever gets touched.
So I'll tell you this. I think that 5 is probably going to go next. I think that, and there, I think for good reason. I think you could install a lot more horror elements than what 5 originally was. And I think you can make it a very, very good game. And it was a fun game, but it wasn't a great game. And if
Do you think they keep the co-op too?
I think it's co-op accessible, but I think that a lot of what they were showing with Ashley and Resident Evil 4 is to test out their AI for a potential Resident Evil 5, especially if that's going to end up being successful. And then they want to do Resident Evil 6 when all 3 campaigns are co-op. There's a lot of functionality that can transfer from game to game there. So
Capcom's got all these remakes. Give me a Lost Planet remake.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Did y'all ever play Lost Planet?
I have, yeah.
The first one. I've never actually gotten to play the other two.
I didn't play 2 or 3 either, but Lost Planet, the first one was incredible.
It's awesome.
Give me that. Capcom, please. You'll probably never hear this, but give it to us.
Capcom is sitting on some amazing IP, honestly.
Yeah.
Onimusha, Lost Planet, The Bay, Dino Crisis. Even parts of Resident Evil, Outbreak, like, what were you gonna say, Dash?
Oh no, I was thinking you brought up Dino Crisis, and I'm thinking about how Capcom, they're gauging interest for Dino Crisis content in the primal game. Exoprimal.
I swear
really
that if
is a
they
fun
determined that they were not going to make Dino Crisis because that didn't like meet their expectations, I would be so pissed. There are some of the biggest like gaming influencers in the world who are begging for this game. Like, and there are games that like we talked about obviously in our remake episode that we want to see remade. Like, if we're picking quintessential games, I feel like Dino Crisis is a part of that list. Legacy of Kain is probably another one that I'd throw in there that like it would be so good if they did it right. But that's also another big thing if they do it right. And then also,
I'm not going to put down Exoprimal, but
it really is a fun game.
Yeah, I don't want Dino Crisis content in Exoprimal. I want Dino Crisis. Yeah. that's the issue I have with that.
I just want Dino Crisis in the vein of Resident Evil 2. They don't necessarily have to put that much assets towards it. Like, they could put the Resident Evil 3 team and that'd be fine with me. But I just want to see that game come back to life, because a lot of Capcom games are actually pretty short. All of the Resident Evils you can typically beat in 10-ish hours, like pretty regularly, except for Resident Evil 4. And I mean, Resident Evil Village is a little longer too, but honestly, they're none of them are typically long. Dino Crisis, same way. So
it's big in the speedrun community because of that. I follow like this one YouTuber who does world record runs. It's amazing to watch how they do it.
It's insane.
Did y'all see the speed run for Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh no! Is
5 minutes and 39 seconds?
Oh, for what? No, that's for the sex speed run.
No,
what?
It's for the whole, like, it's for beating the game.
What?
Like beating the game, not like getting an ending.
So it is an ending. It's one that ends in Act 2. You have a chance to end the game in Act 2 if you'd like.
Huh.
Possibilities. it's not a good one by any means, and you basically have to just say, I don't want to play this anymore, and I'm just looking to end it.
I'm really curious how you get to Act 2 in 5 minutes, though.
Oh, dude, it's like, so he was casting Featherfall on himself,
Oh,
and he was just setting up turn-based mode and jumping, and he was able to swing it. It was, I don't even know if it was a guy, whoever it was, they were able to swing it, and they smoked it. Once y'all finish Act 2, I'm gonna send you the video because I don't want to spoil it for
I
y'all.
finished Act 2, so I'd be good to see it.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
curious.
I'm gonna send it to you after this.
Okay.
Then. It was
Damn.
insane. All right, Turok 3. We're off topic. Let's go.
Turok 3 looks awesome. Star Wars Dark Forces both look awesome. We're excited for both remasters. I actually may end up picking up both of those. Just depending. I mean, obviously, it depends a lot on price point and when
They can't
what
be
I'm
more than
playing.
$20 each.
You think? I thought fucking Red Dead Redemption would be like $30. So
That's a major company. These are smaller companies. They know how to price their games right.
yeah.
If
So,
Like
if these are anything over 20, then it's you wait till it's on Steam sales.
Yeah.
yeah. And you yeet it back to the ether. So, in addition to these announcements coming, we also have some new games, which we've talked a little bit about. One of them already tonight, and that one is Armored Core. So, Armored Core has finished its review cycle, and big surprise, brand new FromSoft game, which got surprise announced at the Game Awards, is being reviewed very glowingly. For those who are unaware, Armored Core is made by From Software, who makes the Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring titles. Armored Core is a mech, like futuristic, almost Gundam-esque game, but the mechs is very, very different than a Gundam, so probably not the right parallel there, but it is actually a series which came well before the Dark Soul games, I believe, as well. And this is the first installment in quite a while. And so obviously fans of the series are hyped. When the previous Armored Core had launched, the Dark Souls games were not held in this light that they are today. And so the reviews have been great. It is a game that I've read. If you do not like Souls games, you are not going to like this one, because it may be one of the hardest ones, because everything is so build dependent, and it maintains that core element of FromSoft gameplay in terms of 2 hits and you're dead kind of a thing. And so, Dash, I know that you're really excited for Armored Core, so I wanted to get your take on it.
Oh yeah, Armored Core's definitely been one of those games. Like, I think like the last like accessible one. I mean, there was Armored Core 5, and I think V-Day, I think it was called. There was a second one that came out shortly after 5. Those were on like the 360 PS3. So it was like Armored Core 4. Those were like the last major ones that came out. But this one definitely is a big step up from what I've seen in terms of just gameplay difficulty and customization, because I see people making some crazy customizations. Like, it has a color sticker thing, so people are kind of using the stickers to make Gundams or other mobile suits from other mecha in there, so it's really creative what they can do in there. But oh man, just the gameplay itself, I was like, I haven't played it yet. I've watched playing videos, like the videos like people flying up to like capital ships and just like punching the bridge and instantly destroying it. I'm like, feel like I'm watching Shar and his red Zaku taking out a fleet of battleships or something. I haven't, and I'll be sitting in my Discord channel, and all my friends are playing Armored Core right now, and I'll hear them all talking about it. Like, they're talking about what boss they're stuck on or where they're having trouble at, what builds work best. And it's kind of like one of those things where there's people like who are Souls veterans that are struggling with this game, which is surprising because they kind of do play the same, but there's different mechanics to it, because what Armor Core allows you to do is it allows you to really change your, if you can keep retrying missions, right? And you can switch out parts and switch out builds until you get the right combo, because it wants you to experiment. It wants you to change if something's not working, because you can't just go in and do the same thing over and over again to every boss. You're just gonna fail. And I think that's what a lot of people fail at, is because kind of like in even games like Elden Ring, you can do anything and it may be harder one way or another, but
you could typically
you could do
accomplish
it.
your goal. Yeah.
And there's probably going to be some psycho out there that's going to do an Armor Core run with the
A Guitar Hero controller or something.
the worst build possible or something like that. And or there's going to be someone do a blindfold run or something. There's just, you have like regular people trying to beat this game just normally, and then some asshole comes in and just does it in a way that doesn't make sense.
Shouldn't be possible.
Yeah,
basically.
that one dude with voice commands on Dark Souls, that dude can go fuck himself.
There's like some streamer, she like got like this like neural scanner thing. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like something you put on your head and it like reads your impulses somehow. I'm assuming it just probably, maybe it does like temperature or something like that, but
pressure points or
I don't
something
know.
like that.
There has maybe it's like a little mini MRI thing, and it can actually see what parts of the brain are churning. But she can, like, you can map controls to different parts of your brain, I guess. And if it detects activity in that part of the brain, it'll do that activity. That's the way it works as a controller. I'll find a video and send it to you guys, because it's crazy.
Yeah, that sounds insane. Eric, are you gonna pick up Armored Core at all?
I'm gonna get it on sale.
Okay.
There's just too much coming out right now, so
There is.
I'm not gonna devote $60 to it when I can put it to something else. Because so $60 is the Phantom Liberty DLC and the premium edition Starfield upgrade for me through Gamepass. So that's what I've spent my $60 on instead of Armor Core.
Yeah,
Definitely get that.
I played a little bit of 2, but let me tell you something. I was fucking ass cheeks at it.
I had one of my friends, he got his PS2 out. He had Armor Core Last Raven, and he told me, hey, I've never played this game before. And he's like, hey, try beating this boss. And it was the most excruciating experience of my life. Like, he set me up just to get fucked.
It's like the first time you face Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts. There was no getting out alive.
Nope.
That was such a hard fight. I can't tell you the amount of hours I spent on that, having him down to his last bar of health and almost beating him, and then he would just nuke you.
Well, you'd have to have the ability that like he can't kill you in one hit and just brings you to 1 HP. It's like last chance or something like that.
I thought it was like the Green Bracer or something like that.
It like without having that though, it was impossible. I've watched YouTube videos on people who can like no hit him, and it's just, you guys are a bunch of sickos.
I still haven't beaten I haven't done anything for the DLC of Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, I've done all the other optional bosses in the Kingdom Hearts games, but I have not fucked with the Yozora.
I've still got to play 3.
It's good. I'll say this about Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like, it looks the best. Its combat is almost perfect, but it's too easy.
Okay.
Because of like the amusement park rides, all the different forms that you get, and you're basically invulnerable in those modes, but that you can disable them. So that's what some people do to kind of give them that feeling of challenge. And it does make the game a kind of a bit better experience by doing it that way, honestly. But I mean, it's one of those things where it gives you options. If you want it to be easier, you can. If you want it to be harder, you can. But and that's kind of like what Armor Core and Souls games don't have, which could be a whole nother conversation.
By design, though.
Yeah,
Eric, you were saying something about Kingdom Hearts 3, though. Didn't mean to cut you off there.
He's trying to find that return thought now.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
I thought you were talking about that. No,
no.
I just haven't played it. I need to go back. I bought the whole pack.
Like the all-in-one edition or
Yeah,
whatever.
when it was like, I don't know, I think it was like 80, $90 or whatever it was, and you got like all three. This was before Kingdom Hearts 3 had come out. Like I pre-ordered it. And then I played through 1 and I got to 2 and I was like, man, I said I didn't feel like picking it back up. Since I just never went back.
Well, damn.
So because I wanted to play like all of them, and then like I guess I just got overwhelmed by like all the side games.
So they're like, it's a lot.
And then the story mode, like all these other separate ones, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. That's the main reason. Like I just don't like going into a game where I have no idea.
So and it sucks because Kingdom Hearts 3, it is like you could play it without playing all of the in-between games, but they really do make the story a lot better conceptually than if you hadn't played them. And I recently actually just played all the side ones for the first time, and I'm like, oh, that's who that character is now. Like I totally like, oh, that's why Roxas and Ventus look exactly the same. And it's just they're and yeah, it's and why Vanitas looks like Sora. Like there's a whole lot of I would say overcomplication. Like they didn't have to turn this as like it feels like the creators of Westworld trying to make a game almost, just overcomplicating the story for no reason other than to create more. So
yeah. And here's a little tidbit. So it's been 3 years since the last Kingdom Hearts release. And that's the first time in the franchise's history that there's been a 3-year gap for a game.
I mean, technically there's the mobile game though, right?
No, I think that, well, yeah, I don't count them. Technically, let's see.
They're counting the mobile game though.
That released in 2020, technically.
Oh, well,
Dark Road.
Yeah.
Expansion. There's a Missing Link that's got announced, but it hasn't been released yet.
Melody of Memory was the last one, and that was November 11th, 2020, which is
haven't played that one actually. So
it's a
rhythm game, yeah.
Yeah, so not my if it was like $5, I might pick it up.
But of course, there's story in it. There's lore because there has to be, right?
It's just so
fucking
ridiculous.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
I can forgive them for doing the side games for like Game Boy and PSP and Nintendo DS because everybody, I mean, you could get those as a kid, right? And now they're accessible because they brought them in those collections for modern consoles. But the mobile games, no.
I'm not playing this. I don't care.
And they're gone now.
Yeah.
They closed the mobile games. You can't experience these games anymore. You have to go watch it on YouTube if you really want to understand this story. And I think you're going to need to know more about this mobile game for Kingdom Hearts 4 because they sprinkled a lot of that in Kingdom Hearts 3.
It's ridiculous.
That's why I haven't gone back and played. Makes me want to not go back and play at all.
And that's why, you get the Kingdom Hearts fans and they're always like, it's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. I'm like, I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan. And it's complicated. If I didn't play all these spin-offs, I wouldn't know what the fuck's going on. How are you going to expect a casual player who doesn't understand these releases? They see Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3 and they think that's it. They don't know, oh, you got to play Chain of Memories, then you got to go into 382 by 2 days or whatever. Then you got to do
just... and even the games themselves on the packages, they're just movies. Like you don't even play the game, and so it's
they did that for the and I don't blame them doing it for Recoded, and I guess the Roxas one wouldn't have been that bad to play because there's some good stuff there, but it is what it is. At least you got to play like Birth by Sleep. There's some great stuff in there.
Great one. Probably the best non-numbered game of the entire series. And in some ways is maybe even better than some of maybe at least one of the numbered games, maybe the original one. But anyway, we're totally getting off track here again. So another major release, we won't talk about this one so much just because we kind of don't have a dog in this fight at all, which is Sea of Stars. We've got reviews released today, and it is getting some major critical acclaim. Sea of Stars is also a very unique game because it is coming both to Game Pass day one, also to PS Plus Extra day one. So PlayStation's kind of version of Game Pass. They're both getting it day one. It is basically kind of a modern day Chrono Trigger, no time travel, but like very strong, heavy turn-based RPG elements. And the reviews are great so far. It has that very kind of retro looking style to it, 2D animation, but it does take a little bit of like modern influence in terms of graphics. Like it's a very good 2D representation, so definitely something interesting that I will absolutely play, especially since it's on Game Pass and I don't have to pay $60 for it. So definitely excited for that one. Now we get to a lot of what has been discussed in this episode and in gaming media very, very heavily, and that is Starfield. So we have heard good things, we have heard not so good things about Starfield. The not so good things, I think, is kind of a weird topic because it's mostly discourse. It's not necessarily people shitting on the game itself. It's people shitting on the expectations of the game. And whether that be traversal of planets, whether it be the story, because that apparently leaked, whether it's been just whatever other factors coming into play. I mean, it's a Bethesda game. There's going to be discourse, unfortunately. But there's also a lot of positives that have been coming out. Luckily, we will find out on August 31st. So when this episode releases, that'll be 2 days later. We will get the full review from people who have been able to play the game for a few weeks. And I know that there have been a lot of people who have been insanely excited for this game and are very, very excited to talk about it. So one, I wanted to get your guys' input. What are some of the things that you guys are so excited for, but also what is your input on kind of just all this discourse that we're getting now with the game?
I mean, the discourse is just kind of like, sometimes maybe it's not Bethesda managing expectations, or it's people themselves not listening and they end up misinterpreting something.
Right.
Like, so I think a lot of this discourse comes back to that Twitter discussion with Peter Hines. So somebody asked Peter Hines, who's a developer at Bethesda, or I think he's like one of the head writers.
He's like the media guy is what he
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically they ask, will I be able to walk around the whole planet? And Pete's like, yeah, you're absolutely going to be able to do that. And I think people interpreted that as it's going to be seamless. I'm going to be able to just go walk in a straight line and I'll be able to come back around to where I started, right? Because I'm going to walk around this whole planet. Kind of like, I know people can do that in No Man's Sky. I think some people say it takes like 40 minutes just walking straight and you'll come around the whole planet.
Yeah.
But with what we were seeing with Starfield, and the details are out there. I think even Todd Howard, there was an interview where he was talking about it, where you'll land on a planet and it'll load the environment around you. But if you keep walking and you get too far from your ship, you're going to hit a barrier, and it's going to tell you, hey, you need to take off in your ship and land somewhere else on this map, and then you'll be able to explore further. So it sounds like the entirety of the planet's going to be like a few square kilometers of total territory, but you can only like do a tile at a time, and then you have to land in different parts to explore the full thing, which some people might not like. But I don't think this isn't a deal breaker. This isn't major. This is just going to be people nitpicking. And I think this is still going to be a fantastic experience with the amount of detail. And it sounds like it's procedurally generated, right? So someone landing here might generate some different quests than someone landing over here. So it's going to be interesting seeing how people compare their experiences, and we'll see how it goes. I know some people weren't too fond of the whole, you know, how No Man's Sky, you can fly from outer space into the planet's atmosphere and land wherever you want, and it's a
Right.
seamless experience. But for Bethesda, taking off is a cutscene, landing's a cutscene, and you're basically choosing where you want to land on the map instead of flying there yourself. Some people might not like that, but it is what it is. It's just, you know, there's probably certain limitations. This is an ambitious game, and in order for everything to run well, maybe they just have to do these steps.
I think that you hit on a few points that are really important there. One, the game is incredibly ambitious, and comparing it with No Man's Sky, I think is something a lot of people will probably end up doing.
It's going to work against them, or it's going to work for them.
And I think that there's cases to be made for both. No Man's Sky is a totally different game.
Yep.
No Man's Sky is a game that is simply about exploration, and it's a sandbox. You mine for material, you can build bases, you can do that kind of stuff, but there is a story, but it is not good. It's not something that drives you to you don't play No Man's Sky for the story. You don't play it to build relationships. You don't play it to have this sense of adventure. It's a shut your mind off and just have some fun, you know, in the same vein as a Minecraft, in the same vein as, you know, Fortnite, like in the builder mode. Like it's just, there's a very, very different sense about both of these games. And I think No Man's Sky was, their issue was they didn't embrace that to begin with, and so that's why people were very unhappy, and it was a very barren project to start with. And they've made the game incredibly like so much better.
They just got a major update just recently.
Yeah.
They still keep on supporting this game, and that's kind of like what we should expect with Starfield. Is it's going to get mod support. It's going to get probably expansions. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's getting mod support very early from what they said. Usually it takes them a couple months to get out there, you know, their mod support, but they're talking about putting this out within a couple weeks of release, or even sooner, I think.
Yeah, and they're saying we're going to allow modders to put whole planets in the game. So they already got 1,000 planets in this. And I know, like they said, 10% of them would have life on it, but they also are setting expectations about the barren plans, saying it's going to tell you what resources are on here. So you land, you look for those resources. You don't have to waste any more time, right?
Yeah. I can't wait for somebody to build a Death Star mod.
Total conversion mod for Star Wars,
Star Trek. Man. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have so many possibilities. Warhammer,
Babylon 5, Let Me Dream.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming, Dash. Don't you worry.
Like Babylon 5 is one of those properties that needs a game. Listen to me, game developers, give me a Babylon 5 game.
But it's modding, the modding community in general is something that separates Bethesda from almost any other game. I mean, Skyrim, the amount of mods that they had was, I mean, it might be more than any other game in history, to be honest. And so much so that when they went ahead and released, because I mean, Skyrim got 6 editions or something, like, you know, but the final edition that came out, it was the Ultimate Collector's Anniversary Edition, you know, whatever the fuck it was called. But it included like actual mods that had come out for the game, because their community is just so good. And Bethesda is unique in the sense that they've actually hired people to work at Bethesda who have been part of their modding community beforehand. So I'm hyped for it, honestly. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, we need a good sci-fi game. You know, I think that fantasy is amazing in gaming. Is it overplayed? Maybe, like just because of the extent that everybody grows up wanting to, you know, be a knight and fight dragons, and you know, you play D&D, you do, you know, you read we all grew up reading fantasy novels. And so there's just that part of, I think, our childhood and our imagination leans heavy into that, and not so much science fiction, because science fiction is partly rooted in our history and rooted in actuality, as opposed to fantasy just being totally make believe. And so we are, I think all three of us, it's safe to say we are hyped as fuck for Starfield. We are ready to play this. I'm hoping to finish Baldur's Gate
I think it's
someday.
possible if you kind of just
If I'd
dedicate
have
a
to
week
pull
into
you
it.
have, you have to know life.
I'd have to pull an Eric, but I do have a 5-day weekend this weekend. And I am not getting early access to Starfield, so I have until next weekend. So
Yeah,
2
there's
weeks.
there's no reason I can't beat this game in 1 week.
Yeah, I think you got this. Easy,
Yeah.
Dash. I may have to just run both of them for a bit while I'm still, because I'm not waiting to play Starfield. Because I made the huge, if I would have just fucking started Baldur's Gate as soon as it came out, I would be done right now. I'm so pissed at myself. And because I'm a fucking idiot. So lesson learned, just play the game when you want to play it. Don't wait, especially if everybody else is having fun and you know you're going to have fun too. Just play it. But I'm hyped as fuck. One thing that we didn't talk about that I just wanted to mention real quick before we go ahead and close out tonight's episode is we got our first, it's not even really a look, but a social media tweet about Prime Video's Fallout series is coming in 2024, which is going to be made by Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, who made Westworld. I think that's a very, very interesting match, and something I'm very excited for. I know that you guys have both seen Twisted Metal. I haven't seen it, and so
Yeah,
Check it was fun. It was so fun.
We're starting to see more video game properties, head into this media type, whether it be television or film. And honestly, they're getting better. We're getting not the same content that we got in like the mid 2000s, where it was bleak. Is probably a bit of an understatement. Yeah, just straight ass.
And like the difference for Fallout that Twisted Metal didn't have is Fallout has a very strict and defined lore and world, so they gotta be careful. They gotta follow that, right? It's not gonna take place in anything that we've seen in the games, because I don't think we've ever gone to Los Angeles, but at least the rules still have to apply to this. So hopefully they don't take too many liberties and changing stuff that messes with the lore. So I mean, keep the Brotherhood of Steel, the Brotherhood of Steel.
We'll have to wait and see.
Walton Goggins is going to be in it.
Yep.
And he's good in everything. Uncle Baby Billy's
Uncle
Bible
Baby
Ballet.
Billy.
Bible Bonanza. I'm sorry.
I know it's Bible Bonkers. I literally just finished watching the season today, and
dude, it's so good. Sturgill Simpson singing at the end of the episode.
Is that who that was?
That was
I knew
Simpson.
It was somebody famous. Like it was
so good, man.
The Righteous Gemstones, for anybody who hasn't checked out the show. It is incredible.
I don't think I've watched that one yet.
It's so imagine
goddamn Montgomery's.
Yeah, imagine like Joel Osteen had a family that was absolutely insane. And
you mean they're not already?
No, but like
imagine having the inside look at what they do and like the day-to-day behind the scenes. That's what this is.
And it's made by Danny McBride. And,
I love Danny McBride.
So Danny McBride, John Goodman is like the patriarch and head of this family.
Yeah.
And
Adam Devine's in it.
Yeah, but the side characters are the best part. So Walton Goggins is in it, and he plays the uncle, and his name is Uncle Baby Billy, and he is the funniest character in the entire show. And he's only in like 10 minutes of every episode too. Also, Adam Devine's friend Keith is my favorite character.
Keith.
Yeah. So we're getting into Chocobo Chasers movie territory today, or television recommendations. But yeah, Righteous
The one with all
Gemstones,
the rants.
awesome. We know what we're calling this one today. Actually,
Yeah.
no, Eric gave us a really good title for this one, so we'll be using that one. But honestly, I think that's everything that I've got. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think we had a pretty great one.
Yeah, no, this is fun. I like this one.
All right. Well, boys, let's go ahead and let's wrap this up. Thanks everybody for listening. Please be sure to make sure and check out our previous episodes if you haven't already. Also, we are going to be having a special guest next week who we are insanely excited about. All three of us have been totally hyped for this one. And as usual, we'll continue to look at providing some, fun content going forward. And we will catch you all next week. Thanks so much for listening.
Have a good one.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.